Cameroon and the globe are mourning the death of one of the world's most renowned musicians and saxophonist, MANU DIBANGO, who died today in the Paris hospital of the COVID-19 pandemic. Prime Minister Joseph John Gute chairs an evaluation meeting of the 13-point government measure to stem the propagation of the coronavirus 1 week after the measures went into force in the country. President Paul Biya sets up a follow-up committee to ensure the effective implementation of the recommendations of the major national dialogue in the Northwest and Southwest regions, with Prime Minister Joseph John Gute at its helm. And those are our lead stories. Hello, welcome to the 7:30 News. I am Benn PUFONG. Cameroon's musical legend and saxophone veteran MANU DIBANGO is the musical icon died today morning in a Paris hospital after contracting COVID-19. Family and fans the world over have remained in shock since the news broke in the early hours of today. Emmanuel Joke DIBANGO, known as MANU DIBANGO, who was baptized at birth as Emmanuel Joke DIBANGO, grew into a global icon and will be remembered for his blend of jazz, funk, and traditional Cameroonian beats. He will be missed at home and abroad. Constantine Baum reports on the last hours of the icon whose works impacted Cameroon, Africa, and the world.
It was first rumored 2 days ago on social media that the African saxophone legend MANU DIBANGO had died after catching the coronavirus. The message was debunked by his team, with them saying he is resting well and recovering, only for his fans to wake up this Tuesday, March 24, to read from his official Facebook page that announced the sad news. This was received with much shock, especially as he died by catching the coronavirus. The African saxophone legend is gone, but his iconic smile and voice will live on. DIBANGO, best known for his 1972 song Soul Makossa, fused jazz and funk music with traditional sounds from Cameroon to thrill the world. Born in the Cameroonian city of Douala in 1933, which at the time was under French colonial rule, Emmanuel Joke DIBANGO's career spanned across more than 6 decades. In 2009, the saxophonist filed a lawsuit claiming that Michael Jackson stole a hook from his song Soul Makossa for 2 songs on the world's best-selling album Thriller. Jackson settled the case out of court. Grand Manu, as some will call him, began his career in the 1950s, and he has since become a globe-trotting musician, living and regularly performing in France, Belgium, Jamaica, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Ivory Coast, and in Cameroon. He was a member of the seminal Congolese rumba group, African Jazz, and has collaborated with many other musicians, including Fania All-Stars, Fela Kuti, Lady Smith Black Mambazo, Herbie Hancock, King Sonny Ade, Don Cherry, as well as Sly and Robbie. He achieved a considerable following. Hits like Somaloba, 1971, Soul Makossa in 1972, Afri Jazzy in 1986, Papa Grooving, 1996, Manu Safari, 1998, propelled the Cameroonian to become an African saxophonist with great respect. The African saxophone legend dies of COVID-19 at the age of 86 in Paris.
From being the pioneer chair of the Cameroon Music Corporation to the training and grooming of several Cameroonian and non-Cameroonian artists to becoming music stars, MANU DIBANGO's musical influence cuts across countries and generations. Charles Ebune reports on the legacy of the veteran artist on the Cameroonian and global cultures.
MANU DIBANGO Charles.
Welcome to Globe Watch.
Thank you.
Always with a smile, we journey into Manu Dibango's part unknown musical discography of plus 70 songs with a saxophone. An acclaimed music talent with a cross-century impact, the Soul Makossa Monument composed the 45-year-ago Cameroon-hosted African Nations Cup anthem. Through songs like Waka Africa's Somaloba and Blue Elephant, quality music was an outstanding legacy on the Cameroonian culture by the father of four.
I have a passion for the music, and I still have a passion. And music made me who I am.
The quest for quality landed him as one of the pioneer chairmen of the defunct Cameroon Music Corporation.
We need really art institute, national.
We need a national arts institute.
Yeah, so people they can go to learn.
Conscious of his ephemeral life on earth, Manu Dibango trained a sack of human resources to stage after him.
I show religion to the people. They don't know me, except in Cameroon. Richard Bona works with me. If I give the list of all, I'm talking about musicians.
And with that, the man with an unending smile can embark on the journey beyond.
I can't go today, I can't go tomorrow. I already have my share.
Family members and close friends of Manu Dibango are yet to come to terms with his sudden demise, considering it not just a great loss for them, but to the entire nation and even beyond. Dixon Asher captured those reactions in the following report from CRTV Littoral.
Grief and consternation at one of Manu's sister's residence in Bonaprise, Douala. Some family members and friends who relate to Manu on a close range have gathered to sympathize with her. Ngome Bimbe is in pain and can only sing alongside others to air her spirit.
It was time for him to go, but nobody expected that that particular disease is the one to take him. Well, we just say, may his soul rest in peace, because nobody knows the hour, the day. That's how life is.
Henry Njo, a Makossa legend who lives in Douala, is among the mourners. He has been receiving ceaseless calls from other friends who seek to confirm doubts that the legendary saxophonist is no more. Manu's demise is unprecedented. They only have memories of him to live with. Professor Dukaya, who shares the same neighborhood with Manu in Douala whenever he comes visiting, struggles with tears before coming to terms with reality. It's sad, he says, but can only thank God for everything. Manu's death was speculated even before his actual demise on social media to have been snatched from life by the coronavirus. It has unfortunately come to happen, leaving family, nation and continental grief. Radio stations around the economic capital have begun rebroadcasting editions wherein 86-year-old Manu was guest in a way to bid him farewell.
Artists in Cameroon have been expressing shock at the sudden demise of someone they fondly called legend, inspirator, and ambassador of Cameroon culture. From Esso Esomba and Ange Bogoy-Meran of the older generation to Grey Hans in the light of Ate Bazo and others, they all have been saluting the legacy of the saxophonist who stood up for them when authors' rights issues were being messed around in the country. Arts and Culture Minister Bidungpat describes Manu Dibango's death as a great loss for the world of culture. Emmanuel Avamnue compiles their reactions in the following report.
Artists in Cameroon mourn. Their Sunday cry has set at dawn.
News of Grand Manu's death came like a bombshell. It looked like it was sunset in Cameroon music. He was a monument. The one who took our Makossa across the borders. He was ready, selfless, he was humble, and he was always ready to help artists, to advise artists. And you would see him feature in music with younger artists, with artists who were less popular than him.
His patriotism, simplicity, and the work he has done for Cameroon, I dare say, Manu, through his music, sold Cameroon to the world than diplomacy. He has done what he has to do. It's left for us to give him the honor he deserves because he was a great man.
Manu Dibango has died so soon, taking their dream of a possible collaboration with him to the grave they regret.
Manu lives at the time I wanted to have him feature in my next album I'm currently working on. I never had the chance to work with him before.
To me, it's the saddest thing. He's one of the people I really looked forward to meeting. To me, he's an inspiration. To me, he's not just a legend in music. To me, he's a representation of artistry in music. To be able to make you feel music without words, he is that person to me.
The artistic scene in Cameroon would no longer have him live on stage. His saxophone too has silent, a vacuum hard to fill.
The musical world has thus lost one of its honorable legends, and Cameroon is deeply aggrieved by this sudden death of a genius respected for his musical performances, the sounds of which continue to unite all hearts in Africa and the world, irrespective of origin and sex.
He certainly lives on through his music, but musicians in Cameroon think Manu Dibango needs to be mourned like the hero he was.
The fallen monument was not only a musical and artistic icon, but a humanist and philanthropist as well. Manu Dibango maintained his Cameroonian nationality despite having lived almost all his life in Europe and the Hexagon. Joyce Kimbi-Fowajo has the following tributes for the national hero.
World-class legend, palmarès of a global star, big brother, pride of Cameroon and Africa, Manu Dibango, the most coronated African artist with his first recordings carried out in the CRTV studio.
I beginning really to be known in this country with those songs we record here. Everybody was singing that, and the studio was the only one because there was not yet studio around.
Fuser of jazz and funk music with traditional sounds, Manu had a world-class seduction for his fans, coupled with his generosity and humanist side. His multi-billion contribution to the African program dubbed Tam Tam for Africa to serve the lives of million dying Africans touched the hearts of many. This as well as many philanthropic actions carried out in his homeland, Cameroon. The pianist, organist, saxophonist, and finest ever-known vibraphonist has groomed many world-class musicians. His unending musical repertoire, a fountain from which countless jingles for radio, TV, and cinema programs, as well as signature tunes for programs. Born in 1933 in Douala, left for Europe at the age of 15, attended high school in France, and started up as a pianist. The seasoned and iconic artist leaves behind a dream for his country.
Keep on working and try to be in love with your country.
Hellas, he remains a legend.
And may his works live on as he departs so suddenly. The Prime Minister, head of government, has been making an appraisal of the 13-point government measures aimed at curbing the propagation of the coronavirus at a crisis meeting he chaired at the Star Building today. It came out of the evaluation that 1 week after the measures went into force, they are yet to be appropriated by a large segment of the population. Sisako Tamko reports.
It has been 1 week since the government prescribed 13 measures to contain the coronavirus pandemic, which is ravaging the world. Under the stewardship of Prime Minister Chief Dr. John Guter, members of government met in another crisis meeting dedicated to the evaluation of whether these measures have been effectively implemented. Public Health Minister presented the current state of affairs since the last measures taken by government, including the evolution of the virus and mobilizing more health workers to meet up with emergencies. Members of government took turns in updating the situation in the sectors and attendant difficulties. Most measures like the shutdown of schools, the closing of borders have been applied. Suspected victims have been quarantined, but people need to be sensitized on the gravity of the situation and should change their lifestyles. Motorbike riders, taxi drivers still fought overloading restrictions. Markets are overcrowded. Bars still open after 6 p.m. as well as shops and bakeries. Government envisaged repressive measures for defaulters and communication will be reinforced. A minute of silence was observed to Cameroon's great icon MANU DIBANGO, who passed on this day, a victim of a deadly COVID-19.
The number of people sick with COVID-19 in Cameroon has surged in recent days, with 70 cases and 1 death resulting from it. With the uptick in cases, medical cost is a common concern. The government of Cameroon is subsidizing treatment, which doctors estimate at 300,000 CFA francs per person per day. Beatrice Losamba has been to the confinement centers to get a clear picture of the medical cost for coronavirus patients.
With the uptick in coronavirus cases, staff of the Yaoundé Central Hospital have hardly had time to take a seat as they aggressively prepare to receive more cases. And the hospital's director admits they are cracking up under the pressure, but living up to the task.
We are the arm of the government, and we are doing our best. Proof is that 2 patients recovered under our care.
The hospital received the country's first cases of coronavirus and has reported 2 cases of recovered patients who have been released. 2 more patients are closely being monitored in this clinical setting currently.
For each patient, we have 4 doctors who work 24 hours on 24, and they are assisted by tens of nurses. The drugs are given free of charge. All the tests are done free of charge. They are fed by the hospital. Caring for them per day costs about 300,000 francs. For 14 days, they are admitted. The total medical cost is about 4,200,000 francs.
The medical cost tied to coronavirus is on the government's shoulders right now for all the 66 cases concerned. For now, the 3 confinement centers in Yaoundé seem to be coping well with the burden of looking after patients. Some have suggested that it is because they are not yet deluged with coronavirus cases. High health cost or low medical capacity is not yet a worry, he admits, as the government has waived patients' costs for coronavirus treatment.
And the number of confirmed coronavirus cases in Cameroon have surged from 66 to 70, with 1 person confirmed dead. And those are the figures that were released today by the Ministry of Public Health. Our reporter, Clarice Takang, is at the Health Emergency Center where all of those figures are coming out. Let me turn to you now, Clarice. Good evening, and tell me what is new out there for this evening.
Good evening. Well, it's been quite a very busy day here at the Cameroon Health Emergency Operations Center here in Yaoundé. As we all know, the coronavirus situation in Cameroon has evolved. Since this morning, we've registered a number of new cases and unfortunately 1 death. Now, to keep us posted on what has happened since this morning, in my company is Mrs. Atongapai Diana, who is a senior public health administrator. Good evening.
Good evening, Mama.
Thank you for joining us. Can you just tell us what is the situation of the coronavirus in Cameroon as we speak?
Okay. What I'll say is that today has been a hefty and very serious day here in the Public Health Emergency Operational Center in Yaoundé, because today we registered 14 new cases. We made us a total of 70 cases as we speak. And unfortunately, today was a very sad day because Cameroon registered its first death, and we are so devastated about that because we are doing everything to make sure every case is being taken care of. So registering a death case was really a very sad situation for all the people involved in the response.
You can imagine that one death is one too many. But we'd like to find out from you, those who are undergoing treatment, can you just tell us how is the situation concerning those ones? How is it unfolding?
Okay, what I can say about those ongoing treatment is that they are really responding to treatment, and many of them are very happy because Cameroonian government is doing everything to make sure they are being taken good care of. So all I can say for the moment is that the stage is okay, they are stable, they are not complaining, and we are adding more effort to make sure many of them will be healed and they'll get out and they can testify. Cameroonian government is really doing everything as far as public health is concerned.
Now we are at the call center of the Emergency Operations Center. Just tell us, how many calls do you register here a day and what happens? How's the follow-up done?
Okay, let me just say, since the 6th when the first case was declared, it has been a hefty thing for those working in the call center because the calls are really added. Some days we can register 400 and something cases, some days 286. Today about 280 calls were registered. People are being concerned. People want to know how to avoid it, how they can contact it, and who they can contact if they feel any symptom. So the call center is really busy all these days since the 6th that the first cases were registered.
What do you tell those people in case somebody tells you, yes, there's somebody here, there are signs, maybe there are signs of the coronavirus? What do you tell those people? How do you get them to come in, to turn themselves in?
Okay, the first thing I will say is that as the person dealing in the response team, you have to look very confident and very calm. Because if you dealing in the response team, you're already feeling sad or a type, then the other side will be very, very afraid. So what we do is that when they call us, first of all, we have to let them be assured that we are here for them. So what we tell them is that you cannot just sit in the house and say you have a coronavirus case. No, you need to call us, tell us how the person is feeling. Is the person coming out? Has he been in contact with somebody declared sick in Cameroon? Okay, from those information, we know which next step to take. We'll have everything in order and we'll have every step gathered for the response. So when you call, the call center take the information, they pass on to other supervisors who analyze the information, and they will pass forward to the rapid response team who are always ready and available to go to field and attend to those declared suspected cases.
Now, if you had a word to say to Cameroonians out there, what would that be? What would you tell them?
What I'll say to Cameroonians so far as coronavirus is concerned, and looking at the number of cases we have registered, 70, and we have already started registering deaths. We will never stop, but instead, we will keep saying prevention is the best. Prevention is the best. Please and please let us follow all the measures given by the Ministry of Public Health and the other partners like the World Health Organization. We are not imposing on you, but we are begging because public health is concerned. One person infected is equal to many other people at risk. So please let us be conscious. Coronavirus is real.
Thank you so very much, Mrs. Atonga Pandana. She's a Senior Public Health Administrator. We've all heard it from her. 70 cases confirmed in Cameroon and unfortunately, one death. Well, we'll keep you updated on the situation as it unfolds. Back to you in the studio.
Thank you very much, Clarice, for those updates. And we come back to the studio to continue with our newscast to say as Cameroon starts counting its deaths and as the numbers keep mounting of confirmed cases, Cameroonian medics grouped under the umbrella of their guild, the Cameroon Medical Council, have been exchanging notes and experiences on how to wage a winning battle against the COVID-19 pandemic. They were interacting at a press event in Yaoundé today, during which it came out that the fight against the coronavirus cuts across all the segments of the Cameroonian society and so needs a collective fight. Ewane Epole reports.
This move by the Cameroon Medical Council is intended to help government flatten the dreaded coronavirus in the country. They have met this Tuesday with media men and women at a press conference in Yaoundé, during which the medics reminded them of their duty to inform the public on the deadly pandemic. During the forum, which witnessed a question and answer session, the health experts disclosed the contribution of the Cameroon Medical Council in the fight against the COVID-19 virus.
So you have doctors working in the hospital, doctors working in the ministry, doctors working in our schools, because you have school health. So all the measures that have been taken in the fight of this disease, whether it is going to the community to identify contacts or identify people who have symptoms, doctors are involved. In the hospital, in the management of patients, doctors are involved.
The pandemic is a global health concern, and Cameroon must sit up through responsible citizen behavior. The media has been called to sensitize the population on the respect of basic hygiene rules and first aid measures to limit the spread of the virus.
And as I was announcing a moment ago, the PR Minister, Head of Government, Joseph John Gute, was today chairing an evaluation meeting in the Star Building, an evaluation meeting that is holding against the backdrop of the announced death of one COVID-19 patient and the rise of the cases from 66 to 70. And the PM concluded today's evaluation meeting with a declaration to the press. Let's take a listen.
Ladies and gentlemen, on the instructions of the President of this Republic, His Excellency Paul Biya, this Tuesday, 24th March 2020, there was a meeting of the Interministerial Committee in charge of evaluating the implementation of government's response plan against the spread of the coronavirus pandemic in Cameroon. At the end of the presentations and discussions during this meeting, two major observations were made. Firstly, the coronavirus is being spread in our country. Field investigations carried out by the specialized services of the Ministry of Public Health, as well as the sampling of several suspected cases, confirm 66 positive cases of COVID-19. That is 51 cases in Yaoundé, 12 cases in Douala, and 3 cases in Bafoussam. As a result, the cities of Yaoundé, Douala, and Bafoussam are currently the 3 hotbeds of the pandemic in Cameroon. May I remind you that a week ago, when I first spoke on the evolution of this disease, 10 people were affected by the virus in our country. At this juncture, I regret to announce that today, Cameroon recorded its first case of death from the coronavirus. The second major observation is that certain restrictive measures prescribed by the head of state on 17th March 2020 with the aim of stemming the spread of this virus in our country are unfortunately not respected by many of our compatriots. These measures include the systematic closing of bars, restaurants, and leisure spots from 6 p.m. The prohibition of gatherings of more than 50 persons. The ban on overloading in buses, taxis, and motorbikes. Urban and inter-urban travel restrictions. The regulation of consumer flows in markets and shopping centers. Compliance with the rules of hygiene and the social distancing laid down by the World Health Organization. It should be recalled that the coronavirus spreads rapidly in places of high human concentration and through close contact. In this regard, persons who refuse to comply with these restrictive measures under any pretext whatsoever endanger not only their lives, but the lives of others and the entire nation. The indiscipline, carelessness, and even recklessness that have been observed in recent days are contributing greatly to the spread of this pandemic in our country. That is why, on the instructions of the President of the Republic, the restrictive measures taken on 17th March as part of the implementation of the response plan will now be applied with the utmost rigor, and offenders will be punished. As a reminder, Article 260 of our Penal Code punishes with imprisonment from 3 months to 3 years anyone who, by his conduct, facilitates the transmission of a contagious and dangerous disease. In this regard, the administrative and municipal authorities, as well as forces of law and order, have been instructed to strengthen controls and take all necessary and appropriate measures to ensure that the measures prescribed by the head of state are respected by all and at all times. In conclusion, I would like to point out that in order to dispel certain rumors that have been widely spread on over the past few days, that no decision to confine the population totally or partially has been prescribed by the head of state so far. Nevertheless, it is essential to limit gatherings and non-essential movement and to respect the instructions already given in order to avoid that the spread of the virus should lead to greater restriction of activities that are useful for our daily lives. Thank you very much.
Prime Minister Joseph John Gute speaking there. And some local authorities are already adopting more stringent methods to ensure that the population respects the measures being put in place by the government to keep them safe during this period when the world is in a state of emergency. One of such examples is Mfu, which is the chief town of the Mefu and Afamba division of the Central region, where the senior divisional officer has sealed a bar for violating one of the safety measures which stipulates that all bars and leisure sports close at 6 p.m. Yoti Kaleli Songe is just back from Mfu.
The sun will no longer set on a full house at Sun City, a bar in Mefu and Afamba division of the Central region. It has been sealed for 60 days by the administrative authorities due to the violation of the 6 p.m. curfew by its owner.
If we have some people who do not want to respect this instruction, we have to do it by force. So I've decided that 60 days, this bar will be locked.
Government's measures are greatly appreciated. If the SDO took such a decision, it is good.
This bar, the earliest time it closed was at 3 a.m. We have to abide to what they are saying. We have to support government. Here, being on the lookout for defaulters of the measures put in place by government to contain the spread of the coronavirus is an everyday thing.
As concerns transport vehicles, we have stopped drivers from paying parking fees and exempted bike riders as well from value-added taxes to prevent them from overloading.
The population must thus be sensitized at all costs.
Every day, either in local languages or mobile vans, we use megaphones to sensitize the population on the measures taken by government and also give updates on the coronavirus.
Mfu has not confirmed any case of COVID-19 yet, but the authorities are firm on the fact that it is better to be safe than sorry.
Let's now take you over to Douala in the littoral region to see how the population is coping with the government outlined measures, especially the one requesting that drinking spots and other leisure areas close before 6 p.m. or at 6 p.m. at the latest. And our man on the bed is Alphonse Abongwa, who is standing by in the outskirts of Bonamusadi. Hello, Alphonse.
Good evening to you, Benn, MENO, PUFONG. You are welcome to Douala. We are specifically on the spot known as the Rue de la Joie in Bonamusadi. This is one of the hottest spots that people in the economic capital come here every evening to enjoy their life, like it is fondly said here. And so this particular area, you can see behind us, the bars are totally locked, and all the streets beginning from here right down there, I can assure you that it is a dead end here, Ben. And this is an area where people would never imagine that the list of silence can ever exist there. But thanks to these measures put in place by government to combat the coronavirus, the people who are selling here, who are making this place vibrant, have decided to align with government measures in order to ensure that they block the way for this rapidly spreading virus in the country. Augustin Jonkep, Alphonse Abongwa Achu for CRTV News.
Thank you, Alphonse. Let's talk other issues now. President Paul Biya has taken one more step in making the implementation of the proposals of the major national dialogue a reality in Cameroon. He has created a follow-up committee that will oversee the implementation of the recommendations. The structure is headed by Prime Minister, Head of Government, Joseph John Gute. Ashunyenchi puts the creation of this structure in context.
Within a few hours after the closure of the major national dialogue on October 4, 2019, President Paul Biya in a tweet reassured Cameroonians that the recommendations of that dialogue will be carefully and diligently examined for their implementation, taking into account their desirability and feasibility as well as the capabilities of our country. This sounded like a savant melange of a dose of political pragmatism and realpolitik. Since then, the clock has been ticking while much has been happening. The field has not been dry, it has been green, and the harvest has been rich. In consonance with two of the outstanding recommendations, the President tabled a bill which has since December 2019 become law, the law on regional and local authorities, accelerating decentralization and ushering in the special status to the Northwest and Southwest regions. This follow-up committee created by the head of state is in tandem with his oft-declared intention to make the recommendations see the light of day. The follow-up committee under the auspices of the Prime Minister, Head of Government, Joseph John Gute, the same master hand of the dialogue itself, will help streamline the implementation of recommendations, determine what has been done, what is left to be done, and proposals for better implementation. It is evident that President Biya's new directive will accelerate the dream come true of the major national dialogue package.
Today, March 24, marks the 35th anniversary of the creation of the CPDM party in Cameroon. Though the traditional effervescence that usually characterizes this anniversary day have been kept on hold this year owing to the COVID-19 pandemic, the party's supporters are nonetheless upbeat about the achievements in the country ever since and over the past 35 years. Kilian Dandifor now revisits some of the major signposts of the party since its creation and the challenges that lie ahead.
Members of the then Cameroon National Union CNU gathered in Bamenda for the party's ordinary congress on March 24, 1985, and its national president transformed it into the Cameroon People's Democratic Movement, the CPDM.
The CPDM is a party of dialogue, a party of opportunities, of unity. It is a party of the masses, a party whose strength comes from the grassroots.
After 1985, the advent of multi-party politics in the 1990s, was its first litmus test.
While others were of the opinion or they weren't ready for multipartism, the head of state, despite the fact that people even went on the streets to march to say that they weren't ready for multipartism, the head of state took many people aback by saying that Cameroonians should be ready to go in for democracy.
The CPDM has known changing fortunes.
We realized that the party was doing good at this level, but at the grassroots, we needed some handwork, some serious work to be done. So we went down to the field and reorganized our basic organs.
But leadership experience has kept it strong.
President, remember at one point said that it's not he who wants to stay in power, but he who is able to stay in power.
Political scientists fear for its future.
There are some leading supporters whose public discourse has much to write home about.
For now, the CPDM is the unrivaled political formation in Cameroon.
That's where we leave it for tonight. Thanks for watching. I'm back here tomorrow, 7:30. Good night.